Okay, can we have a really honest conversation today? Because I feel like there is this strange message that women get as we start getting older. On one side, we're told, love yourself, embrace your age, your wrinkles, tell a story. And I actually do believe that. But then on the other side, if we buy some kind of skincare or do a treatment or say, hey, I would really like to take care of my skin, suddenly we're acting like we're afraid of aging. And I don't think those two things have to be opposites. I think I can be grateful that I'm getting older and still moisturize my face. I can thank God for another year of life and also think, okay, I don't necessarily need my skin to look exhausted just because I am exhausted. Those things can coexist. And as I'm approaching 40, I've been thinking about this more and more. Not because I woke up one morning terrified that there was a line around my eye, but because I'm realizing that my skin is changing. And that's normal. The skin I have now isn't exactly the skin I had at 20. So instead of fighting that fact, I want to understand it. What is actually happening underneath the surface? Why does our skin become drier? Why do we start seeing fine lines around our eyes? Why can our face start looking a little less plump, but like in a bad way? And maybe most importantly, what can we realistically do about it? Not because we need to look 20 forever, not because younger automatically means more beautiful, and definitely not because our value as women is determined by our faces. But because I believe there is something beautiful about caring for what we've been given. So today we're going to talk about the science of aging skin. And I'm also going to show you two products that I've been using from the JAFRA Royal Jelly RJX Defy line. It's the antioxidant face oil and the Lift Express eye treatment. And there is one ingredient in the face oil that I especially want to talk about because I went digging into the research on it and I was actually really interested in what I found. But before we get into any of that, I want to talk about something much bigger than skincare. I want to talk about the difference between vanity and stewardship because I don't think they're the same thing. For part one, I want to talk about that I grew up watching a woman care for her skin. If you're new here, there's something you need to know about me and JAFRA. This isn't a company that just showed up in an Instagram feed 3 months ago. No, JAFRA has basically always been around me. My mom, Patricia Bergstrom, has been involved with JAFRA for about 50 years. 50 years. Think about that. Before social media, before skincare influencers, back when there was like parties and you get together and have a Jafra party, just like people would do Mary Kay parties or Pampered Chef parties. She did Jafra. So before TikTok told us that we needed a 17-step nightmare of a routine, my mom was taking care of her skin. Now, I grew up seeing these products. Now, it wasn't these exact bottles, but it was Royal Jelly and it was Jafra and the line that they had at the time. But I grew up with them and seeing them and smelling them. And I grew up watching her use them. And something I love is that the smell is still, they have their original smell in some of their products, which is so it's just, it's nice. I really like it. But because of that, Jafra has just become normal to me before I ever even understood what skincare was. I've personally been around it and using Jafra products for roughly 30 years now. Because like I said, I started when I was young. And my sister Angela, we call her Angel, also faithfully used and uses JAFRA, and her skin is amazing, and my mom's skin is amazing. So I definitely have very good examples to follow in their footsteps. And when I sit down and I talk about these products, I'm not trying to pretend that I discovered some mysterious skincare company last week. This is just part of my family history. And I'm surprised how few people know about it in the United States, at least. It's where I live, is in the US, kind of central. And honestly, it's present here, but there's not as many women knowing about it as you would think. And men can use the products too. They're they're kind of gender neutral because they're so good. Anyone could use them. But I'm getting sidetracked. Point is, it is part of my family history. And now that I'm getting close to 40, my sister, she's about 10 years older than I am, honestly, like exactly 10 plus couple months. And my mom is in her 70s. So we've got 75 and then about 50, and I'm about to be 40. And I've had this really interesting opportunity to just watch women in my own family move through different seasons of life while continuing to care for themselves. And there's something about that that just feels meaningful to me now. Because when you're 17, you're not thinking about what your skin is going to look like at 40. At least I wasn't. You're just living and trying to fight the pimples and the acne and the sunburns from spending too much time at the pool with that like coconut baby oil. Oh my gosh, what do we do to ourselves? But then eventually you look in the mirror and you realize, oh, my face, it's growing up with me. And I actually think there can be something beautiful about that. So for part two of this, I want to discuss what actually happens to our skin as we age. I am a licensed certified health coach and nutritionist, and so I love talking about the science. Now, when we discuss the science, it's important because your skin doesn't suddenly betray you when you turn 35 or 40. There are biological changes happening gradually over time. There's two words that you're going to hear constantly in conversations about aging skin, and they're collagen and elastin. Collagen helps to provide structure and support to the skin. Elastin helps the skin stretch and return towards its original shape. Now, as we age, the amount and quality of these structural components, these aspects of your skin, they change. Skin also tends to hold less water and it can become drier, thinner, and less resilient. Now, those changes contribute to the lines, the texture changes, and the loss of firmness that we associate with aging. So, think about young skin almost like a really plush mattress. There is a structure underneath it. There's bounce, there's fullness, there's moisture in a good way. And over time, some of that internal support changes. That doesn't mean something has gone wrong. You know, aging, it's not a disease, it's biology, but there are also things that can accelerate how old our skin appears. And one of the biggest is something we've probably all underestimated at some point, which is the sun. Ultraviolet exposure. It does contribute to premature visible skin aging, which means looking older before you really should. But this is why dermatologists consistently recommend daily sun protection. The American Academy of Dermatology recommends broad spectrum water resistant SPF 30 or higher for exposed skin. So if you're spending hundreds of dollars on anti-aging skincare, but you've never protected your skin just from excessive UV exposure, that's something to think about. And I'm saying that to myself too. This series isn't me sitting here pretending I've done everything perfectly. No, that's not what this channel to be about. I want us to learn together. JAFRA does have a really good sunblock that's part of the Defy line. I didn't bring my bottle down, but it is a great product. So if you are spending a lot of time in the sun, you should use it. If you're just in the sun, a reasonable amount of time, I actually encourage a little bit of exposure each day. So if you're just going out for 15, 20 minutes, less than an hour a day, then, use your own wisdom and decide if you want to use sunblock or not. Okay, so for part 3, I want to discuss why your eyes may look older first. And by that, I mean like this skin, like right here around your eyes, like in this area, right? You know what I'm talking about. We tend to get wrinkles there first. So why? I mean, you'll be getting ready one morning and suddenly you're leaning toward the mirror and you're thinking, were those lines there yesterday? Yes, they probably were. We just noticed them today. But there is a reason that the eye area can show aging so noticeably. The skin around the eyes is particularly thin and has fewer oil producing glands than many other parts of the face. So that makes the area more vulnerable to dryness and visible fine lines. And as the tissues around the eyes age, changes in collagen, elastin, pigmentation, the underlying fat and blood vessels, they can also contribute to wrinkles or puffiness, like hollow or dark circles. And think about how much movement happens here, right? Like how often the skin has to be pulled on and moved. We smile, we laugh, we squint, we cry, we spend half our lives staring at screens, and we don't even realize that we're moving our eyes as we think about it, like scary, sad, I don't know, I'm trying to mimic some emotions, but my point is almost everything we feel or respond to, even if we're not talking, we're responding often with our eyes. And then we also rub our eyes when we're tired and we pull and we push. This little bit of area in the skin here is just working all day long. So when I see lines around somebody's eyes, yes, biologically, we're seeing changes in the skin, but emotionally, sometimes I think we're also seeing evidence of a life. You smiled, you laughed, maybe you cried 1,000 tears, maybe you've raised babies, and maybe you've lost somebody. Maybe you've stayed awake praying about something, and maybe you've walked through a season you thought you weren't going to survive and you did. I don't want us looking into the mirror at 40 or 50 or 60 or 70 and seeing only defects. I really don't. But I also don't think appreciating those stories means we have to intentionally neglect the skin carrying them. And that brings me to this, which is part 4, the JAFRA Royal Defy Lift Express Eye Cream. This is it. This is JAFRA Royal Defy Expressed Eye Treatment. JAFRA positions this product specifically for the appearance of aging around the eyes, like we're talking about. It addresses hydration, fine lines and wrinkles, and just visible concerns such as like under eye bags and dark circles. They highlight an ingredient in here. It's called sea oak in the formula in connection with the appearance of dark circles. Now, here's something I want to be careful about whenever we talk about skincare. A cosmetic isn't magic. This isn't going to change your birth certificate. You're not applying this tonight and waking up biologically 22 tomorrow morning. I'm sorry, my friend. And I actually think skincare companies and skincare creators gain credibility when we stop pretending that every bottle performs miracles. No, let's be realistic. What skincare can do is support the condition and the appearance of your skin. So by that, hydration alone, that matters tremendously to the way skin looks. So dry, dehydrated skin can make fine lines appear more noticeable. When the skin, though, is well moisturized, it can look smoother, softer, and just more supple. So when I'm using an eye treatment, I'm not asking it to make me a different age. I'm asking, does this delicate area feel cared for? Does it help it stay hydrated? Does it improve how the skin looks? Does it fit into a routine that I can realistically maintain? And then I'm watching over time. That's much more useful to me than just putting something on once and expecting a miracle. So when I use this, I really only have to use a tiny amount. There's a little knob there. You just squeeze out a tiny bit and then you would rub it under your eye like so and just kind of massage it in just a little bit. And one thing I do try to remember is gentle. Be gentle with his skin because like we talked about, it takes so much abuse and stretching and so much it has to respond to. We don't need to wage war against our own face. You don't have to pull and tug and scrub at this area. It's very delicate. And I'm just gently working the product around the eye area. And while I do this, I want you to think about something. When was the last time you touched your own face with kindness? That sounds like a strange question, but seriously, we spend so much time inspecting ourselves and propping and picking and plucking and just looking for what's wrong, the line, the pore, the dark circle, the sagging, the gray hair, and the thing we want to cover. What if skincare became a few minutes where you weren't criticizing your face? What if you simply cared for it? It's a very different experience. So for part 5, let's talk about the face oil. And the ingredient that caught my attention with this one, this is the JAFRA Royal Defy Antioxidant Face Oil. And I will leave a link down below that you guys can order this stuff from my mom, who is a consultant, Patricia Bergstrom, if you're interested. But JAFRA says this product is designed to immediately hydrate the skin and support the appearance of plumpness, suppleness, and radiance. The Defy collection, it also contains JAFRA's royal jelly based ingredients, and the face oil, it specifically highlights something called Bakuchiol. And Bakuchiol got my attention because if you spend any amount of time around skincare, you've probably heard people talk about retinol. Retinoids have an enormous history in dermatology, and they're one of the best known topical approaches for photoaged skin. But there is another plant-derived ingredient that's gotten a lot of attention, the Bakuchiol. And honestly, you'll often hear people call it a natural retinol alternative, and I would phrase that a little more carefully. Bakuchiol isn't retinol. They're different compounds, but there has actually been head-to-head clinical research and in a randomized double-blind study comparing topical Bakuchiol with retinol over 12 weeks, both groups showed improvements in wrinkles and hyperpigmentation. And while the Bakuchiol group, it reported less scaling and stinging. The researchers concluded that the Bakuchiol showed comparable improvement in photoaging in that study and was better tolerated. So does this mean that one study proves that Bakuchiol is identical to retinol in every possible situation? No, and I don't want to tell you that. Retinoids have a much larger body of evidence behind them, but I think it's exciting when an ingredient in something I'm actually using has legitimate research behind the broader ingredient. Now, that's the kind of thing I want to use as we investigate in this series. Not Rebecca likes it, therefore science says it's amazing. No, my experience is my experience. Research is research. The manufacturer's claims are the manufacturer's claims, and we're smart enough to distinguish between those things. That's how I want to talk to you. Like you're my friend and we're sitting here and we're looking into this together. So for part 6, how I'm using the face oil. JAFRA's directions for this oil say to just place about 4 to 5 drops onto your palm. Um, and into your skin. Like it really is just like a drop of oil. And honestly, I just drop it right onto my face when I rub it in. And I love it. There's something about a face oil that makes skincare feel luxurious to me, kind of like a little massage for my face every day because I love my face, right? That's kind of the thought behind it. But like I said, there's something luxurious about it. And again, I'm pressing it into my skin gently instead of aggressively rubbing my face like I'm trying to remove a stain from a carpet. No, your face does not need to be punished into looking younger, my friend. I want that line in this video because I think that women need to hear it. Your face needs gentle care, not hard, not rough, not tough. Your face doesn't need to be punished. We're caring for it. We're supporting it. We're protecting it. We're nourishing it. We're allowing ourselves to age while also doing what we reasonably can to keep our skin healthy looking and cared for. They're not contradicting goals. For part 7, I want to talk about that I don't want to be anti-aging. There's actually something about the phrase anti-aging that I've been wrestling with because think about what that phrase literally means. Anti-aging, against aging. That aging means I'm alive. I don't want to be against that. I don't want my daughter to grow up believing that a woman's greatest beauty is behind her by the time she's 25? No, I don't want to believe that about myself. I don't want my mom to believe that about herself, and I don't want you to believe it about yourself. I want to age. I want birthdays. I want more anniversaries. I want more dinners with my family, more conversations, more laughter, more opportunities to help people and to learn, more time to become the woman God is calling me to become. So I'm not trying to stop aging. I'm trying to age well. There's a difference. Maybe instead of anti-aging, what I'm really interested in is like pro-stewardship. How do I care for this body while I have it? How do I protect my health? How do I nourish my skin? How do I care for my mind? How do I grow spiritually? How do I become more comfortable inside the person I already am? That interests me much more than chasing youth forever. So for part 8, I want to talk again for a minute about Esther and preparation. This is where I just keep having to come back to Esther. If you've watched the other videos in this series, Esther means something to me personally. Her Hebrew name was Hadassah, and Hadassah means myrtle. And I have the myrtle tree tattooed on my arm because her story has meant so much to me. And there is one part of Esther's story that I think women sometimes rush past. Before Esther went before the king, there was a period of preparation, a long period. The women, they were young and they underwent beauty treatments and preparation before they were presented. And I want to be really careful here because the meaning of Esther's story is obviously much bigger than skincare. Esther wasn't courageous because she had beautiful skin. She didn't have the courage to save her people because she found the right eye cream. Of course not. So please don't hear me saying that. Her courage came from somewhere much deeper. Her faith, her willingness, her character, her obedience, her bravery when the moment came. But what's interesting to me is that preparation and purpose were not presented as enemies. There was outward preparation and there was inward preparation. And eventually there was action. So that speaks to me because sometimes I think Christian women especially can feel guilty about caring how we look. Like we're supposed to prove that our hearts are in the right place, but not caring for ourselves at all. Like scriptures don't teach us that neglect is holiness. The issue is where our identity lives. Beauty makes a terrible God, but that beauty, it doesn't, that doesn't mean that beauty is bad. There are beautiful flowers, beautiful sunsets, beautiful music, beautiful buildings, beautiful people. God created beauty. The danger is not appreciating beauty. It's when beauty becomes the source of our worth. And those are completely different things. So for part 9, let's talk about how the mirror can become an altar to fear. I think this is where skincare can go wrong. If every morning I stand in front of the mirror terrified, searching for another wrinkle or pimple or whatever the thing is, trying desperately to hold on to a younger version of myself, comparing my real face with somebody else's filtered face, thinking I'm somehow becoming less valuable because I'm becoming older, then skincare isn't serving me anymore. I'm serving it, and I don't want that. There is always going to be another product, another procedure or trend, another person online who looks younger or has a better filter. If our goal is perfection, there will never be enough. But if our goal is stewardship, now we have freedom. I can use this eye treatment because I enjoy it. I can use this face oil because I want to nourish my skin. I can protect my face from excessive sun exposure. I can drink water. I can eat nourishing food. I can get enough sleep, take care of my health. I can put makeup on and do my hair if that's something that helps me feel good. I can wear something that makes me feel beautiful. And none of those things determine whether I am worthy. They're just ways that I care for the life I've been given. It's a completely different foundation. Part 10, I want to talk about the parable of the talents. It's another biblical idea that keeps coming to me when I think about this. The parable of the talents is this, in its original context. A talent was a unit of money, and Jesus was teaching something much bigger than appearance. So I'm not trying to turn that parable into a skincare lesson, but the principle of stewardship really speaks to me. The servants were entrusted with something, and they were responsible for what they did with what had been entrusted to them. And I think about that in my life. What has God entrusted to me? What has he entrusted to you? He's given me my body, my mind, my health, my family, my opportunities, my voice, my ability to encourage somebody, the years I have, the face I have, the body I have, whatever gifts I have. What am I doing with them? Not everybody gets the same things. Not everybody has the same health, the same appearance, the same financial resources, or the same opportunities, or the same number of years. But I don't think comparison is the assignment. Stewardship is. What am I doing with what I've been given? And when I look at beauty from that perspective, it becomes much less about vanity. It's not, look at me, friends. No. It's, thank you. Thank you for this body. Thank you for this face. Thank you, God, for almost 40 years. Thank you for everything this body has carried me through. I'm going to take care of it. Not because I hate it and have to, because I appreciate it. For part 11, my face has been through life with me. So this is where this gets personal. My body and I have been through a lot together. I've had babies. I have 7 kids, but 3 of them biologically. I've gained weight. I've lost weight. I've lived with multiple sclerosis. I've been tired. I've been scared. I've been hopeful. And, I've prayed and I've cried and I've laughed. And as I've raised my kids, I've been a wife, a mother, a daughter, a sister. I've walked through years that changed me, and my face came with me through every single one of those days. So maybe this line wasn't there when I was 20, but I also didn't have the life I have now when I was 20. I didn't know what I know now. I hadn't loved all the people I've loved now. I hadn't survived everything that I've survived now. I hadn't learned what I've learned now. So I'm not willing to trade the woman I've become just to have the face I had at 20. I wouldn't. I can mean that and still put this face oil on tonight. That's the freedom I want us to find. So for part 12, if you're looking in the mirror and struggling, if you're watching this because you looked in the mirror recently and didn't recognize yourself, I want to talk to you for a minute. Maybe you've aged quickly because you've been under enormous stress. Maybe you've spent the last 10 years taking care of everybody except yourself. Maybe menopause changed your skin. Maybe illness changed you. Maybe pregnancy changed you. Maybe grief, medication, weight gain or loss. Maybe you just got older and suddenly you're looking at yourself thinking, when did this happen? I understand that feeling, but please don't turn your face into an enemy. Start where you are. You don't need 20 products. You don't need to spend thousands of dollars. You don't need plastic surgery. You don't need to panic. Learn your skin. Protect it, hydrate it, treat it gently. Choose products intentionally and give them enough time to evaluate whether they're actually helping you. And remember that one of the most evidence-supported things that you can do to reduce premature visible skin aging just means not looking older than you are before you get there. It's also one of the least glamorous. Protect your skin from excessive ultraviolet exposure. That's not an exciting $200 serum. I'm just talking about sunblock, friends. Not every day and not all the time, but if you're going to be out in the sun for more than an hour, you definitely need to put on sunblock. So for part 13, what I like about these two together, these two products, I use them along with some other things, but these are part of my daily regimen. The eye treatment is targeting that delicate area we discussed where so many of us first notice those visible changes. And the face oil gives me that nourishing, hydrating step over the broader face. I put it under the Defy moisturizer. I mean, the Defy collection itself is designed around supporting the skin's moisture barrier and improving the visible appearance of multiple things: elasticity, radiance, lines, the softness, and the moisture. So instead of thinking this is going to erase aging, I'm thinking I'm giving aging skin more of what it needs: support, hydration, protection, consistency, good ingredients, and gentleness. This is a skincare philosophy I can actually live with. So for part 14, the thing my mom taught me without saying it, and you know what's kind of funny? I don't remember my mom ever sitting me down and giving me some giant lecture about skincare. She didn't need to. I watched her. For decades, she's consistently cared for her skin. And now, as I'm moving into another season of my own life, I'm realizing how much we teach our daughters simply by what they see us do. So I want my girls to see me taking care of myself. But I also want them to hear me say, I like my face. That's important. I don't want them hearing, ugh, I'm so old. Look how terrible I look. Look at these wrinkles. I hate my body. Mm-mm. Because someday they're going to have wrinkles too, and they're listening to how we talk about ourselves. I want them to understand that beauty doesn't expire. It changes. 20-year-old beauty is beautiful. 40-year-old beauty is beautiful. 70-year-old beauty is beautiful. There's wisdom and softness and strength that only time can put into a face. I see that in my mom. And hopefully someday my daughter will see that in me. So for part 15, my realistic skincare philosophy as I approach 40. So if I had to simplify everything I'm learning about caring for my aging skin, it would probably come down to this. Don't panic. Don't abuse your skin. Don't expect one product to undo decades of biology. Try to protect your skin from excessive sun. Keep your skin barrier supported. Keep it moisturized. Use evidence-informed ingredients where they make sense for you. Pay special attention to delicate areas we talked about that tend to become dry, like around your eyes. And do show visible change. You need to be consistent and give skincare some time. But above all, don't make looking younger the price of feeling beautiful, because that's a game none of us can win forever. I would much rather become a woman who looks her age and radiates peace than spend the rest of my life desperately trying to look like a girl I used to be. Maybe that's what this whole royal journey is becoming for me. I thought I was starting a skincare series, and obviously we are talking about skincare. We're going to do tests and try out the products and talk about ingredients, and we're going to learn what works best, and I'm going to show you what I'm using, and I'm going to tell you what I like and what I don't. But I think we're also learning something deeper together. We're learning how to inhabit our own lives, how to care for ourselves without worshiping ourselves, and how to appreciate beauty without making beauty our identity, how to prepare without becoming obsessed with perfection, and how to age without apologizing for it. Also, how to take whatever God has placed in our hands and steward it well. Maybe that's our royal journey, not becoming somebody else, but becoming more fully the woman we were created to be. In closing, I have a challenge for you. Here's what I want you to do tonight. When you wash your face, before you start inspecting everything you'd like to change, look at yourself. Really look. And instead of finding a flaw, find something you're grateful for. Maybe it's your eyes. Maybe those eyes watched your children grow up. Maybe it's the lines around them because you laughed a lot. Maybe it's your mouth because you've spoken encouragement to somebody who needed it. Maybe it's the face that somehow made it through a year that you never thought you'd survive. And just say to yourself, thank you. Then take care of her. That's it. Take care of her. Not because she's inadequate, not because she's getting older, not because she needs to compete with somebody else. Just take care of her because you are her and she is yours. See you next time, my friend.